Hello, this is Lisa Russick.
And Misty Lord.
Who are you? Who are you? Teri.
Who are you?
I'm Teri.
Teri.
I couldn't tell you were looking at me.
This is a podcast where we're all psychic. She can't see, she's blind, and that's just a tragedy. So we'd love to welcome our guest today. Her name is Rachel. And Rachel, would you like to say hello?
Hello, my name is Rachel White, and I'm the owner of Totem Readings. I'm a shaman.
She's a shaman, and she does a podcast about it, too. And listeners and watchers, Misty has a question for Miss Rachel.
Miss Rachel, do you think that we're all psychic?
I do, I think inherently. But what is psychic, right? So I do a lot of one-on-one coaching work with clients. And it's all individual, none of it's group, because everybody is so utterly different. So I think some people who think they're not intuitive or they're not capable of being psychic just don't understand their particular brand of it and how it's manifesting. Because some people, it's really subtle. Clairsentience can feel very subtle. And other people dismiss things like their dreams, and they might really be getting some prophecies and some precognitive information from those as well. So yeah. Different.
That's a very big one. If it was in our culture to interpret our dreams from when we were little, like, I want to be rich. Like, to know, like, having regular conversations about that with, well, I found out that I was, deeply hurt by my mother doing this in 7th grade because of this dream I had where I was going up in a balloon. Because like people like actually had these kinds of conversations on a regular. And why not? Why we all know whatever, because you can interpret dreams so easily once you learn how. It's not like a big mystical skill. To me, it's not like memorizing a dream dictionary either. That's a great point. And everybody dreams and nobody's ever said that's not real.
I recently interviewed a mother-daughter pair who created an oracle deck called Lucid Living, Lucid Dreaming. And Nisha, and God help me, I'm forgetting the other Burton. Forgive me, too many names and too many people. But they're really deep on helping people, like facilitating that conversation, exactly what you're talking about, and what some of the value add of that is, what the return on investment is from paying attention to your dreams, cultivating a dream life.
That's so cool.
How to lucid dream. Yeah.
Yes, that's so important too, because that's how I get my information is from dreams.
A lot of people do, and they don't talk about it. And they also, I've talked to a lot of psychics or practicing psychics, people getting up to that level, and they'll disparage or dismiss dreams. They go, well, that's, you need to be able to do that when you're awake. And I'm like, what do you care? As long as it works.
Right.
It doesn't matter, actually.
Putting rules on psychic stuff just doesn't seem like a good idea because we don't know what it is yet. Rules, I mean, like, you can and can't and can and can't. I mean, there's some ethical boundaries, there are ethical boundaries.
Everybody out there, there's so many little Nazis in this space who want to give you rules that don't apply to you.
I don't know any of them. I don't know, because we're in the South. We don't have many Nazis.
No, it's more than
honest.
The New Age movement has taken on some interesting attributes of the more closed-minded monotheistic traditions.
Yeah, I've seen some of that, but that's just
I'm trying to do that too. Yeah, eventually I'm going to open up a school that's going to teach kids how to get their psychic abilities and use them and how to manifest things. And I think it's so important to start them at a young age.
Oh, yeah.
So that's my goal. And Teri wants to help too. She's got a vision too. And we both got this vision that we're going to do this.
I think children learning to meditate at an early age is important.
And interpret their dreams, because they're so fresh. Yeah. And that's the start of changing the world to me, is get the kids. And get them.
They're already interested. Our generation is getting some of the kids, like my stepchildren, like the cards. One of them liked the pendulum, and one of them liked the cards when they were kids. I don't know if they still use them, but when I was still living with my ex with the boys, and the younger one was about 16, he came out of his bedroom, and he had the pendulum I'd given him, and he was like 7, and he's like, it broke. Oh. I didn't know he still used it, and I was like, oh. I'll get you another one.
He was
He's like, no. He's like, can you fix this one? And I was like, yeah. This was really cool. And the other one really likes the cards. I would do cards for him all the time and to explain them to him. And then he started doing them and he got really good with them, you know. But they don't think of it as anything like a big deal. Like when we took him to a New Age store in San Diego, I think it was an Old Town. It was in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And we just like Spencer walked up to the crystal ball and he's just looking in it. I see a monkey. Oh, now there's a tiger. You know, I mean, he's just looking in it and I'm like, wow. Because I could tell he was really seeing these things. And of course we bought it for him. And whenever, I see him look at a ball, I kind of see his eyes kind of do this little flickering thing and he's seeing stuff. He can still do that, but he doesn't talk about it because he's shy, I guess. I don't know. He's just
I wanted to talk about
it. It's so normal for him, you know?
Yeah. I want kids to be able to be comfortable talking about it in a space where they're not judged.
And he wasn't, when he was little, he didn't feel weird talking about stuff like that. But when he got older, he didn't really like talking about the cards. He liked it if I did them. Like if I asked Spencer, for example, would you like me to do your cards? He'd say yes. But I didn't do that often because I could tell he kind of didn't know what to think about it, you know?
And you're his mom. So, know.
And plus his other side of the family didn't really like what I did. So he had to hear that. You know, I'm also a professional psychic, Rachel. So that was something I had to kind of work through in the South. It's very different. Like, it's not.
There's issues in the North as well. You know, I'm originally.
What are they?
Ohio, but I currently live in Austin,
Ohio. I can imagine Ohio. Oh, Austin, Texas.
Yeah, and Chicago.
Texas girl.
Yeah, downtown Chicago. There were stigmas. People, and it wasn't just religious stigma. What you might be referencing, it was people having worked with bullshit artists.
Yes, that would be more likely up north. Yeah.
Yeah. And they had this, thankfully they were trying to use discernment, but there was a real thing about, oh, you're a fortune teller. Oh, that means that you shake people down and you tell them they have a curse. Or anyone who does this work professionally has to get ready to socialize and help people navigate around trauma around it. Number one, like live trauma.
Absolutely.
I have clients I'm working with right now who've been in a cult, including Scientology. And so they have their own issues with someone exploiting them in a personal development setting. Mm-hmm. And the other side of it is the religious piece and people being fearful of these tools and instruments. And most of that is because they don't really understand them. Wow. They really come from the same place that the Old Testament comes from without any question. I studied ancient Hebrew as an adult. I didn't grow up that way. I grew up Irish Catholic, frankly. And so I went to school to learn biblical Hebrew and to study Kabbalah. And all they are different branches on the same tree.
Wait, back up. You know Kabbalah?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I wish I'd known that before this podcast because that would have been the topic. I've been looking for someone to talk about the Kabbalah with us.
Yeah, and it's about it. Like as many different people as there are in the world, there's different opinions or interpretations of Kabbalah, just like tarot or anything else. So it's important that I announce, I know you guys might be confused, I'm not actually a man or a rabbi. So there is a tradition in the Orthodox sects where that can only be done by a man who's a rabbi over a certain age. So, but what do you
like nuns can't.
Right.
You do the Eucharist, consecrate.
Yeah. So just worth pointing out. I don't want to offend anyone unnecessarily.
I'm glad you pointed that out. I think it's worthy of pointing out. Definitely.
Yeah. But I don't believe in rules, so I learned it anyway. How about that?
I don't either.
Yeah. And what you were talking about with your children, a really interesting interview came out the other day, and people may not know to look to it to talk about this phenomenon, but it was on the Joe Rogan Experience, and the guest was named, I think, Roger or Robert Epstein. I'm dyslexic. It's late on a Sunday, but he's a tech guy and he's monitoring how Google's manipulating everything and algorithms and all. So he's an interesting tech nerd, Silicon Valley guy, but his new passion project is assessing our endogenous DMT, so the fluid that gets released by our third eyes, all of us. And this is a real science thing. This isn't made up. And he truly believes that there are people living amongst us who just have more access to that. And when I heard him talk about it, I was blown away because I've always joked that I have a high endogenous baseline level of DMT, which is why
I get you. I feel like I'm tripping half the time. I honestly do. I mean, before I started taking
psychedelics, it diminishes my capability. And that was a shocking discovery.
Yes.
Okay? And so he's working on a theory around all this. And my perception of things never changed from childhood. So I've always kept that weird, like, gazing capability or whatever. And I think it might just be brain chemistry. Literally.
Yeah.
So I'm excited they're studying it. They're going to apply science and actually explore this and show people that
I think it's science. I think it's biological. I think we just don't see it or whatever. We don't have a sensor for our energy system that we know of. A sensor, like an eye.
Yeah.
Like an ear for it was whiskers. I don't know what they are. I don't know what we need. But there's enough people in the world who can sense auras and know the same things. And we've talked about, the guy who says, we talked about it one time, I think, on the podcast, the guy who says, if you're proving to me you're a psychic, I will give you $1 million or something, and then he's never given it to anyone. But I mean, anybody could have proven to this guy that psychic is real by now. So he won't let it be,
What is the key metric he wants to measure, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I think Dr. Epstein is going to do. And I
hope so.
Yeah.
It's like
that would be really I'll have to listen to that podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
That would be a crazy thing if they could quantify it, if they could measure psychic ability or whatever chi measure, like in the body or something like that. That'd be very interesting if they find. I'd love that. I think I'm going to look into him in that podcast. Listen to it.
It's a strange synchronicity because before that podcast came out, I every month for the full moon on Substack write what I call a full moon deep dive. This one would be for the Pisces full moon. That's going to be on the 17th, just a few days from today when we're recording. And the whole point of it, it's called The Long Bright Dark, is about how our imagination and our psychic ability are not separate. They're not separate mechanisms. It's all about perception. So when kids are playing, quote, make-believe, what are they really doing?
Exactly.
Yeah. If you're in a meditation and you're like, a lot of my clients say, well, how do I know I'm not making this up? I go, it doesn't matter. Like, let go of attachment to that, because either way you'll be able to test in material reality the data you got here. So you'll see if it's good or if it's bad. Right.
Yeah.
And it's usually good. And it's so the whole point of this month was like encouraging people to take back their imagination, because it's so dominated and filled by external images, things that we are given through social media, through movies, through the news, through propaganda, by the way.
We don't have to think for ourselves if we don't want to, because there's so much to stimulate us to think for us. Because a lot of people don't want to.
There was a great Chuck Palahniuk quote. The guy wrote Fight Club.
I know him. Yeah. I've read a lot of his books. So, yeah.
Yeah. From his book, Lullaby. And it was, you don't have to worry about
I've read Lullaby. Yeah.
Entering you because he's filling you. He's tap dancing. He's doing tricks. He's entertaining you to death, to the point where your imagination is going to wither and become no more useful than your appendix. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
His books are crazy. The one that I think that was something when it kind of relapsed. Chuck Palahniuk. I mean, his perception. I would like to sit down and have coffee with that guy. But speaking of perspectives, I mean, that writer can point out like how anything has got irony. If he wants to, for example. So maybe like, all the four of us, we could point out like, this is how you're psychic. It's just like a skill we have or something. But Misty, I know you have some questions for Rachel.
Well,
sitting here like, I'm going to ask questions.
I want to know, how you got your start and why you do what you do.
Yeah. So my start really came as a result of not being able to find an adequate mentor. And, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I think it's important to be honest about this stuff. Is a lot of people that I work with go out to the marketplace looking for someone to guide them and teach them. And, I went to shaman school and it was quite expensive. And, I paid her large sums of money. I was in my mid-20s at the time. And it didn't stop her from asking to borrow money when I was on my way in to start an 8-hour session in kind of a vulnerable setting. And of course, I always said no because I grew up with abusive narcissists and bullshit. And I was like, so there's a human disappointment factor that comes up for a lot of people.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, spiritual awakening. And what I would just say to anyone who's encountering that is don't let that stop you. That was literally the day after I just started doing totem. I'd read tarot cards since I was 9. So I decided that was the thing I knew I could. I charged for it in middle school. I did it for an insurance company in high school. I was the entertainment party when I was a freshman. So I was comfortable doing that, undercharging for it because, you're still learning how the hell does this shit work? But I knew that if I was really going to learn, I had to do. And that was a good instinct, I would say. And I still learn from my clients. Every session I do, every coaching check-in, every, sort of journey along with them is a constant education. So that was kind of how I got my start. And I started Totem and did this work off the side of my desk while having a corporate job in corporate real estate at a fairly, what I would say, it's dumb work. Trust me, utterly unimpressive stuff, but what would be impressive on paper. And it for me, it was just, I didn't have normal hobbies. I didn't want to go do brunch every single weekend, or watch the same football game over and over again. So this was my thing that I did and just fell deeper and deeper in love with it. And once you start, as you guys know with this podcast, asking the big questions and querying these big concepts, very little lives up to this, right?
Absolutely true. That is so true.
Possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting. And I've said this a million times. You probably have said it on your podcast. And people have said it on our podcast as yes, the more you dive, the deeper it gets. It's like in the holes, the rabbit holes, and the whatever metaphor you want to use, the sky, infinity.
Self-study.
Yeah, self-study.
That's kind of study. Yeah.
Terry reading that book. You learn so much from good books, and not same thing like when I said the human disappointment factor. You'll buy some books that are utter garbage. I got a new spirit guide, ordered every book I could find that addressed him on Amazon. They're all shit.
Not like him, yeah.
But you don't know if you don't try. And I re-gift and re-own books anyway, right, Terry? So
I don't have room in my house for any more books, so I have to start giving them away.
You know what? It's good to do that in feng shui, by the way. You don't want a lot of clutter. Yeah.
So, Teri, do you have any specific questions for Rachel that you wanted to ask?
So, well, I've got several, but we'll start with your podcast, The Skeptical Shaman.
Yeah.
So
I'm a big
I'm aware
itch all the time. Yeah.
I'm curious where the name come from, where the skeptical comes in.
I think people misunderstand the word skeptical. So I kind of wanted to take it back and remind myself and everyone about its real definition. So I think some people think skepticism is the same as cynicism. Cynicism is, you're black pilled, you believe nothing, everything's fake, everything's da-da-da. And then there's naivete, I would say on the other extreme, it's inverse and opposite. In the middle is skepticism. And skepticism is equal parts discernment and curiosity. Because skepticism says, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. How does that work? How can I measure this? How can I use this? And what pulled me out of atheism was skepticism. Everybody also assumes that the word skeptic means you don't believe in anything. All skeptic means is I'm dubious on this thing I've been told, in some cases for my whole life, and I'm going to reassess it now. Or what's called in philosophical terms or scientific terms, actually, first principles thinking. Like what's in front of me? This is a pen. What does the pen do? It writes. What is this? This feels like paper. Getting really back to basics and assuming nothing, sort of deculting your thinking. That's really, so Teri, the Skeptical Shaman, what I want to do with that name and that show is show people that you can be reasonable and rational. You don't have to believe everything. You don't have to be like a silly, infantilized person to still believe in spirit, right? And that you can be somewhere in the middle and not have all the answers and have that be okay.
Oh, yeah. Nobody
I
has
love that.
A lot of people say they do, and they end up
I'd like to
being,
meet them and ask them
being
some
in some
questions.
cult documentaries eventually that are
Yeah.
the people with all the answers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They do have the answers. Or else.
Really get away with a lot because they exude such confidence. That's the
They
origin.
know how to manipulate the energy of the empathy. Yeah.
Is if you're confident, wow, he really must know what he's talking about. He's so confident.
Well, I think they're using their psychic energy with those cult leaders. I think some of them are, and they may not know it or think of it that way.
I think some
They
of
can
them
go in and hit a whole like a musician goes in, like performs for a million, 10,000 people, and they all feel something. And he's just think emotions out. It's kind of like that's what the cult leaders do. It seems like
all of the answers, something's very wrong. So that's a good red to look for, guys. You'll want a practitioner who sometimes, just not all the time, but sometimes goes, you know what? I don't know. That's a good sign. Yeah.
It is. Because we don't know everything. We don't. We're not meant to.
And sometimes the message isn't for us as the practitioner, too. So if a client goes, what does it mean? I go, I don't know. I guess you're going to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious about your deck, your oracle deck that you have. I wanted
the flower essences.
I want you to pull us a card. The flower essences.
I would love to pull you guys a card. So this is the Totem Flower Essence deck. I make flower essences, which are like a really gentle, mostly water form of herbal tincture. Yeah, oral tincture. And it's really old stuff. Bach is a brand out of Germany. And they use just ancient techniques. And I don't innovate on any of it. I grow all the plants from seed in the garden organically.
I see your tincture box. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yeah, there they are. So we made an oracle deck because just looking at flowers and stuff, I don't know if you've noticed the world's a little heavy. Things get a little heavy.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Something about plant medicine and nature that's happy, and looking at beauty is a nice change of pace, I think. And I work on these decks. So this is my second deck. The first one's the Totem Tarot deck with Emma Cook. Shout out to Emma. Emma's my partner on these. She's
Emma.
She started as a client. All right, let's see. Let's pull one of these. Oh, a classic for a reason. Holy water. Just sage.
Oh, that's my favorite herb.
47.
Yeah, it clears energy. Obviously, it's one of the primary things we use to clear, but it's a holy plant and it's antimicrobial. So you'll find that what herbs do physically, they do energetically and psychically. So this sage, culinary sage, you can go to a grocery store and get sage. It's antimicrobial. If you make a decoction with it or a tincture with it, it's a thing that women use to drive their milk if they're nursing.
I didn't know that.
It clears everything out, whether it's physiological or energetic or whatever. And there's a reason it's such a sacred plant. Yeah. Wow. And thankfully it thrives in Central Texas. Most things don't, but sage does.
I have one of is seance.
Oh yeah,
and the thing that I love about the sprays is that, well, my husband doesn't like the smell of burning sage or incense, so the fact that these sprays can clear in the space, I love that.
And seance is marigold, which is also antimicrobial, antiseptic. And marigold's one of the flowers, if we have extra, we put it in the chicken coop because it keeps all the nasty little bitey bugs away.
Really? Marigolds?
Okay. Yep. So what it does in the garden, it does for you. It repels the negative, but invites in the positive. So seance, what do you want in a seance? You want to talk to your dearly departed loved ones. You don't want to talk to a bunch of negative entities, right? Marigold.
Huh.
It's also the flower of Halloween and Day of the Dead in Mexico. So it's marigold's a big flower in that tradition of connecting with the ancestors.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you sell some of these?
Isn't this one another one that's marigold?
It is. That's the oral tincture, and it's named after my dead grandma.
And that's your tincture? That's your tincture?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, listeners and watchers, Teri just held up a tincture that she made. And
Terry's our top.
You're not watching. That's what happened.
Terry's going to get the
leader tincture bottles. And then where can we get those?
Yeah.
Tinctures?
Etsy. So I have an Etsy shop, Totem Readings ATX. You can link to it on my website. If you're on my social media, Totem Rage on Instagram, my link tree links right to Etsy. So that's where I sell all those toys. Yeah.
And what is your website?
Totemreadings.com.
Totemreadings.com for Rachel White.
Yeah.
And can you find your podcast on there too?
Totally. Yeah. Website links to all of my insane shit that I do. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Wait, that's crazy that happened. Listeners, Teri and Rachel just flipped places. That's happened to Misty and me before. So anyway, I guess at this point, I want to thank our sponsor, Everclear. Everclear is an advice app and website where you can get advice from psychics and empaths so you can get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve.
You deserve it.
I love it. Lastly, I want to say thank you, Misty, and thank you, Teri, and thank you, Rachel, very much for coming to our show. And it's been really cool. And do you have any advice about but when I was younger, I associated with shamanism more than anything when I first started walking around this area of metaphysics. And I wanted a name. And that was one that seemed to go with what I did. I like the herbs and I liked the ancestors. I speak to spirits and I like furs and, I like all that kind of stuff. And I like drums and like music. And I do, my guides taught me how to do trance work. And I was just like, okay, let's do this. Is this happening? Yeah, I guess it is. And what advice would you give to someone going through that and saying to themselves, like, on that fence, where am I? Who am I? You're kind of walking a few worlds when you're a shaman.
You're always between worlds when you're a shaman. Yeah. And what I would say is, number one, shamanic work, as you just described, really picks you. Yeah. You don't pick it. And I almost as though it has an intelligence. I think it's drawn to people who've had tough life circumstances that they have had to overcome and transmute. It doesn't tend to find people who've had easy lives. You think
it's a thing that finds us? Explain what you think. I'm really curious. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, no, every shaman, the word shaman means wounded healer. And the work picks you. I mean, if I could not do this, trust me, I had a very easy gig. And I had a very difficult childhood and come up. So I wasn't interested in making my life more difficult. And the work wasn't tolerating that.
Yeah. It won't let you do things you're not happy with. You'll just fall to pieces, won't you?
Yeah.
I did every time. When it was time to stop waiting tables, I just could not go in with 2 days. I'm crying, hysterically. I can't do this. I don't know why. I don't know why.
It's a calling. It's a calling.
It is. I've gone back and forth on that. Seriously, Rachel, is it a calling? I don't know. I did a choice, but right now, I mean, I want to do it, but it's also kind of.
Oh yeah.
What you do.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Spirit's calling. You got to do it.
I'm not sober for a reason in my life. I let myself have a cocktail because this is a very, very, very hard way to live and make a living. It sucks.
It can be very difficult.
So you better be obsessed and also your guides, what you were talking about. My guides never let me down. Never screwed me over. And there's just an inevitability to it. If you're psychic all the time. Now, how useful that data is or not, and how healthy you are or not varies wildly, right? But you're always there. There's that invisible river. So someone on the fence, it's a very personal journey, but if you want to proceed with the work, understand you will always feel a little bit like you're in exile in terms of modern society and other humans. You're going to be out at the borderlands because your experiences, no one else is having your experience of the divine. You can explain to them and you can make friends with other psychics, but they still weren't there for that direct event. And so you get used to that being enough for you. But living in society becomes incredibly frustrating when you do this work because, you see things where you go, I just don't understand why everybody else doesn't see it. Maybe, and I'm not speaking politics. I mean, just in general.
Just in general, the behavior that people sometimes have.
Yeah. And
why is this like this? Yeah.
In terms of next steps with that, one of my favorite things I encourage people to do is you're getting a message from a spirit guide. Really take notes, journal, and keep track of what happens. Yes. Because we miss a lot of the signposts when we're not looking for them. And spirit will interact with you as much or as little as you interact with it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And if you don't like writing, take a selfie, video, or use your recorder on your phone and make a voice memo. Or
the only way to see if the data is going to manifest in material reality is to start keeping track of it.
Yeah.
More than psychic ability, I would say my primary talent is I have a really, really intense memory.
Ooh, lucky you.
I remember things. And then if you remember, you realize that was a thing.
Yeah. I don't have a good memory. Maybe I have like a storage shed back here full of junk, but it's all in there. Sometimes I can pull stuff up from early childhood really easily and middle school and stuff like that. But once I get to like my 30s, 20s, I don't really remember much. It's weird.
Well, you might be more of like a channel. So a lot of your psychic work, if you're in a trance state, you're not going to remember a lot.
I'm in a trance state a lot of the time. I don't tell people that much ever, really. But
you're subconscious though. So, you do have it somewhere, which might be why dreams are so vivid and crucial for you. It might be a form of memory recovery.
I don't dream anymore. I never have any dreams unless I had to turn them off. And I did. And then I've been trying to turn them back on for a few years now, and they're coming back sometimes when I need answers.
When you need them,
when I need them, but I don't ask for them, but they come, and I'm glad they do. But I've been saying, like my guys, they're just like, well, you're having a lot of work at night. That's what they say. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, you're probably
exhausted when I exhausted when I wake up.
Hey, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, I will sit there and dream crazy stuff.
You're the one who has the crazy dreams. Yeah,
I have crazy dreams, but then I have dreams where my biggest thing is something evil attached itself to me. And a long story short, but it would get me in my dreams the most.
Yeah,
that's when it would attack me. And I really had to learn how to fight it through my dreams.
It's funny. A client asked me yesterday, how do I keep negative entities away from me? And I said, well, it's not by avoiding educating yourself in this work. So that's a big misunderstanding. People think if you read tarot cards or if you read a book about this, it draws them to you. It does not.
Right.
Most little kids that are psychic get traumatized their whole childhood by these things. They don't know what the hell they are. They didn't read a book and they're not reading tarot cards and it's still bothering them. Right. Mm-hmm. And what I would say about that is you're not inviting it in and you're not guilty of anything, but every psychic is basically a lighthouse.
I've heard that before. My friend Kasha says that.
If you're shining a bright light, they're going to find you. And their primary tools are just to freak you out and to intimidate you. And they pick a spot where they've got a little bit more sway. And that happens to be when you're asleep and you're at least, psychologically a bit vulnerable. Mm-hmm. But once you start to understand what they are and are not capable of, you can really empower yourself. And one of the biggest recommendations I would have for you or anybody, because this is a constant thing with me, trust me, I deal with all kinds of dickheads on the astral plane on a regular basis. Yeah. Your spirit guides are really the best tool in your tool belt for that. So if it's an archangel, if it's Michael, whoever it is, having a good relationship with them. So think of it as a gun. How comfortable are you with your gun? Are you practiced? Do you know the feeling of when the safety's off? Do you have confidence pulling it out and using it when you need to?
Yes.
And you get that confidence in your neural pathways if you practice. So spirituality, shamanism, all these things are a practice.
Yes.
And it's putting reps in the gym, man, going, shooting and practicing and getting sharp on your draw so that, they can help you. That's been my experience.
You're so right. Because that's exactly what I did, and I started meditating more and I got, to know my spirit guides more during, meditating. And I really got close to Michael, during that. And he is the only thing that has stopped it from going on.
I'm friendly with a very hardcore Catholic, a traditionalist Catholic. So he thinks the Vatican's a big problem. He's a character. His name's Ralph Sarchi. And Ralph was a demonologist, exorcist, and a New York City police sergeant. So,
oh, wow.
When I say he's a tough guy, he's a tough guy.
Yeah.
And he knows what I do for a living. He disapproves of all of this, by the way, because of course he does. He's Catholic,
Right.
but so sweet to me and very friendly and very nice. But it's interesting because in his line of work, he talks a lot about, religious relics. And I think people overlook that, right? Especially in the community. For whatever reason, whatever your beliefs, trust me, if you pick up a cross or a rosary, they do not like it. So hilariously, this house is filled with occult shit. I'm a self-publisher of tarot decks. I'm a working psychic. There's a rosary in my bedroom, and every night before I go to bed, I spray holy water.
Yeah.
I understand. I was raised Catholic. I still do Catholic stuff. I'll say, my guardian angel prayer sometimes. And I talked to my guardian angel. I mean, I met guardian angel. It was a really cool experience. But I still say that prayer sometimes if I'm scared.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah, there you go.
My favorite saying, and I was taught this when I was younger, but it was, the devil doesn't want what he already has.
Yeah.
And I used to repeat that to myself all the time. If I wasn't going down the right path, then I would know it because he would leave me alone. That's what he wants, and so I always used to tell myself that, that it's a good thing that he's trying to get you because he's trying to stop you from doing good.
My little device that I use for myself, and this is more just even psychological, if I'm in a mood or, I'm feeling resentful or tired as any small business owner, or most stay-at-home mothers totally get that feeling as well. You can love it, and yet there it is I always say to myself, don't do the devil's work for him. In other words,
I like that too.
Don't make his job easier. Right?
Yeah.
Anyone who's ever worked in a corporation, if there was someone you didn't like and you're like, you know what, I'm not going to make their fucking job easier. How about that?
Yeah.
Paperwork. I'm going to it's happy hour. It's 4:30. It's time to go.
Oh, it is happy hour, listeners and watchers. I think that's like a double entendre. I think it's time for us all to go have a little drinky poo. It is happy hour at my time, 4:43.
It is, and my husband and I are going to go see stand-up comedy here at the Comedy Mothership in Austin, Texas. And because higher vibrational energies and emotions deter negative entities. And that's another really good piece of self-defense is keep yourself happy and healthy, surround yourself with people, laugh. And be a human being and embrace humanity and human connections.
I totally agree. I love it.
Hard thing to do for some of us, but it's a good thing to do if we can find the right ones to celebrate and bond with. And with that, listeners and watchers, I want to say thank you again to all three of you for being on the podcast. Misty and Rachel and Teri. And I want to say Everclear again. Everclear, we love you.
Yes.
And listeners and watchers, we love you more. And we will see you probably in a couple days because we have a ton of podcasts coming up all of a sudden that just happened. So it's very exciting. And we'll see you, I guess, I will see myself right now, but I will see you. How does this work? It's like a
Tuesday.
Yeah, but it's recording. Well, I don't know if I'll mix it on a Tuesday. Yeah, mix it too. I have Tuesday or Wednesday. All right, listeners. Thank you. Peace out.
Bye. I love you.
Love you.